These are our equivalent fraction, decimal, and percent notes. It should be a foldable, but I can't fold the paper, so we're just going to look at it from this side. So probably the most helpful of the conversions is that fraction to decimal conversion. We've been doing this for a couple weeks now, so just a quick review here. To turn a fraction into a decimal, we are going to divide the numerator by the denominator. I'm going to zoom in. It's this easy to read. For those of you that liked this silly story, a reminder, your cowboy rides the horse. After a long day, your cowboy goes home and your horse stays outside. So over here with 3/8, our numerator goes inside. Our denominator stays outside. 8 can't go into 3. 8 can go into 33 times. 8 can go into 67 times. And I need that extra 0. And 8 can go into 45 times. So 3/8 is the same as 375 thousandths. Our next fraction is 4/5. So 4, or the numerator goes inside, the denominator stays outside. If you have 4/5, you have less than a whole. And 5 can go into 48 times. So 4/5 is the same as 8/10. If we wanted to go in the opposite direction, so if we wanted to turn a decimal into a fraction, okay, we would write the decimal number as the numerator, and we would write the place value as the denominator. And then step 2, that part you guys don't like too much, is that simplify when possible. So here I have 26 hundredths. So that means 26 is going over 100. They're both even numbers, so we can divide by 2 to get it down to 13 over 50. Our next example, we have 1 and 4/10. So we have 1 and 4 over 10. We don't need to simplify the whole number. That's going to stay how it is, but we can divide, again, both of these numbers by 2 because they're even. So our simplified fraction is 1 and 2/5. Our next conversion is going to be between decimals and percents. So one way I like to think about this is decimals to percents is DP. So it's like Dr. Pepper, which is my favorite soda. So when we're going from decimals to percents, we're always going to move to the right. Okay, so we're going to move the decimal 2 spaces, 2 place values to the right, and add a percent sign on the end. This is the same thing as multiplying by 100. So if you would prefer to multiply, that's fine. The moving the decimal is just a shortcut to that process. So if we look at 83 hundredths, here's our decimal point. We're going to move it 1, 2. So 83 hundredths is the same as 83%. For the next one, we have 4/10. So here's our decimal. We're going to move it to the right 2 times. 1, 2. And that space, that empty space, needs to be filled with a 0. So 4/10 or 40 hundredths is the same as 40%. Our last one, we have a whole number, but that doesn't matter. We're going to start with the decimal point. We're going to move it 2 times. 1, 2. To get 112%. So again, if you have that whole number, you've completed the whole activity. You've done 100% of it. So 100% and then some extra to cover that decimal place. If we want to go the opposite direction, so if we want to turn percents into decimals, same thing. If you think about your Dr. Pepper, This time we're going to the left because we're starting with percents, which is the letter P. So we go the opposite direction. So this, we're going to move the decimal 2 place values to the left and then take away the percent sign on the end. Same thing. This is the same idea as dividing by 100. Moving the decimal point is just a shortcut. So if you want to divide over here, that's totally fine. You can do that. So in the first example, we have 35%. So if you remember from our decimal unit, every number has a decimal on the end. So this is really 35.0%. So we're going to take this decimal point and we're going to move it 1, 2 to get a decimal value of 0 and 35 hundredths. Our next number is 9%. So same thing. All numbers have a 0.0 behind them. So we're starting at the decimal and we're going 1, 2. Just like the other side, there's a blank space right there. So we're going to fill in that tenths place or blank space with a 0. So this is 9 hundredths. And last but not least, we have 125%. So again, this is 125.0. We find the decimal point and we move it 1, 2. So this is the same as 1 whole and 25 hundredths. If you divided by 100, you would get the same answers. It just kind of sets you up for more opportunities to make a mistake if you decide to divide by 100 instead of just moving the decimal. The last type of conversion are these percents to fractions and fractions to percents. So if we're starting with the percent, we're going to write the percent as the numerator and 100 as the denominator because all percentages come out of 100. That never ever changes. Kind of like your grades, they all come out of 100. And then again, that step you guys don't like, simplify when possible. So up first we have 25%. So we're going to put 25 over 100. 25 and 100 are both divisible by 5. They're also both divisible by 25. So this simplifies all the way down to 1/4. Our next value is 8%. So 8's going to go on the top. All percents come out of 100. 8 and 100 share a common factor of 4. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. And 100 divided by 4 is 25. And then we have 130% over 100. This should already be looking odd to you because it's an improper fraction. So that means this is really 1 and 30 over 100, which is simplified down to 1 and 3/10. And again, when you're simplifying, you don't have to change the whole number. It just stays whole in front. Our last type of conversion is the fraction to percent. So we're going to start by converting the fraction to a decimal by using division. And then we're going to move that decimal 2 places to the right. Or multiply by 100 because all percents come out of 100. So up first, we have this 3/4. So we're going to do 3 inside, 4 outside. There's 0 in the wholes place. 4 can go into 37 times. And then 4 can go into 25 times. So 3/4 is 0.75. When you move the decimal point 2 times to the right, you get 75%. And then our last example here, we're going to take 5 on the inside because it's the numerator, 8 on the outside. 0 in the holes. 8 times 6 is 48. 8 times 2 is 16. And 8 times 5 is 40. So we have a decimal value of 0.625. We move the decimal 2 places to the right to get 62.5%. So some big reminders here. To convert fractions to decimals, we're going to divide numerator inside, denominator outside. All percents come out of 100. And when you simplify, you have to do the same thing to the numerator and the denominator. And the other thing, your fractions, decimals, and percents are all parts of a whole. So that's why we can convert between all three types of numbers.